In Ecuador, the death toll resulting from prison riots in the Litoral Penitentiary, the country's largest prison, rose to 31, while the authorities seek to regain control of the center. And Cuba commemorates the 70th anniversary of the assault on the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes barracks, led by Fidel Castro, with the aim of overthrowing the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. And at least 5 people were found burnt and dead in Sicily after large blazes ravaged southern Italy. Hello from the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Ecuador, the death toll resulting from prison riots in the Litoral Penitentiary, the country's largest prison, rose to 31, while the authorities seek to regain control of the center. The government concluded the intervention of the public forces in pavilions 8 and 9 of the penitentiary, although the work continues in other sectors of the facility. During the operation, officers found high-caliber weapons, grenades, and homemade bombs. Meanwhile, in the province of Esmeraldas, at least 5 vehicles burned in different areas. Threats of explosive in the gas stations, as well as installations of the public prosecutor's office and the National Electricity Corporation, attacked with Molotov cocktails. President Guillermo Lasso announced a state of emergency in all prisons in the national territory for 60 days to facilitate the intervention of police and the military inside these prisons. Precisely, Ecuador's Minister of the Interior, Juan Zapata, made an assessment of the control operations at the coastal penitentiary.
So far, 3 wards have been taken. It has been a professional work of the armed forces and the national police because we have had no resistance due to the way they enter, even with controlled detonations, and we tell the citizens to be calm. Those detonations are made by the armed forces precisely for the entrances because the doors were very forced. Once the wards are taken and the criminals are subdued, we will begin to enter with the criminalistic units to update and verify how many dead we have there.
Community members from Quebrada and Puna gathered on Tuesday in Pumamarca to demand that the Supreme Court of Justice pronounce on the reform of the Magna Carta and the sanction of the law on community property. Members of the community traveled on Tuesday to concentrate on the blockade that has been maintained for more than 40 days at the access to Pumamarca. By means of closing act, they began the 3rd Malón de la Paz, which will end next August the 1st in front of the National Congress in Buenos Aires.
For years of the descendants of our grandparents, of our ancestors who left us, today all the people who are here in La Guaica, should go out to fight, to read this unconstitutional reform that was implemented in Jujuy. That is why we are going to the Supreme Court, to the Congress of the nation, to ask for justice and to claim our rights. That is our only mission in this 3rd Malón de la Paz, which today departs from La Guaica.
In Brazil, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has announced that he will undergo hip surgery in October this year. In a statement, Lula expressed his motivation for the surgery.
I have to try to calculate well so that by mid-October I can have the surgery, if that's what I'm going to do. It is a reasonably quick surgery. It seems that you are ready in 2.5 hours. The doctor told me Friday that depending on my physical condition, I could be walking with a walker frame 3 hours later. My recovery will depend on my discipline, so I'm going to do it. While I'm recovering,
Nicaragua's Minister of Development, Industry and Trade, Jesus Bermudez, and his Chinese counterpart, Wang Wentao, announced the conclusion of the free trade agreement negotiations between the two countries. Finance Minister Ivana Costa and Presidential Advisor Laureano Ortega also participated in the video conference where the announcement was made.
Nicaragua is an important and influential country in Central America. China always considers bilateral relations from a strategic and long-term perspective and regards the Nicaraguan side as a trustworthy partner, and firmly supports the Nicaraguan side in independently choosing its development path in accordance with its national convictions.
And Nicaragua's finance minister and public credit, Iván Acosta, highlighted that the free trade agreement with China represents a possibility of growth between 2023 and 2026.
The official completion of the negotiation of free trade agreement between the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Nicaragua opens the possibility that the country growth goes from 3.4 to 3.5, a schedule from 2023 to 2026. It could multiply by 2 additional points. This is relevant for job creations, more opportunities, and above all, to fulfill the most important mission of the country, which is the reduction of poverty and extreme poverty, creating more and better jobs for all Nicaraguans.
Wednesday, Cuba commemorates the 70th anniversary of the assault on the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes barracks, led by Fidel Castro with the aim of overthrowing the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. With the presence of Army General Raúl Castro Ruz, leader of the Cuban Revolution, and the first secretary of the Central Committee of the party and President of the Republic, Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, the central act for the 70th anniversary of the assault on the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes barracks began. Over 10,000 people representing the people of Cuba in the former military fortress began the celebrations in remembrance of the historical leader of the Cuban Revolution, Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro Ruz. Attending the event were 2 other commanders of the revolution, Ramiro Valdés Menéndez, assailant of the Moncada, and Guillermo García Frias. Some 269 friends of Cuba from 26 countries of Latin America and the Caribbean, North America, and Europe also gathered there to pay tribute to the heroes on the day of national rebellion in Cuba. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find the news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Russian President Vladimir Putin said during a video conference meeting on economic issues that inflation in the country is currently at a moderate level, but there are signals of its acceleration. The Russian president underlined the necessity of preserving stable prices, ensuring a balance between supply and demand, and the rise in wages in the public sector.
At the same time, well aware and see the main risk of the social economic development. I recently spoke with the head of the central bank, and I share these positions. One of these risks is rising inflation. Yes, at the moment it is moderate, but there are already signs of an acceleration of inflation, due to the fact, among the other things, that the supply of Russian producers lags behind demand. It is important to maintain the price stability of our economy, to ensure the balance of supplies and demand.
On Tuesday, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov hosted a trilateral meeting with his Armenian and Azerbaijani counterparts in Moscow to discuss a peace deal between the two countries. Both Armenian and Azerbaijani ministers declared their readiness to discuss all issues in a constructive manner, but showed reserve and added caution.
Today, I would like to invite you to exchange views on where the process of negotiations on a peace treaty between Azerbaijan and Armenia is now. We are ready to help in every possible way in its coordination, using our expert potential and good relations with our friends represented here. I hope that we will discuss all these issues in a pragmatic, constructive atmosphere. I welcome you again.
Meanwhile, the Azerbaijani Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov said results are somewhat inferior to the high dynamics of the negotiation process itself.
The negotiation process are quite high. We must frankly say that the results are probably somewhat inferior to the dynamics of the negotiations process itself. But anyway, it will probably be wrong to say that there are no positive results at all, or that they do not exist today. I think that it will also be possible to exchange views and opinions on a whole range of issues. Well, traditionally, in this format, the Armenian delegation as a rule focus more on discussing the remaining articles of the peace treaty.
For his part, the Armenian foreign minister warned that the humanitarian situation would worsen if an agreement was not reached.
Unfortunately, I will note again, if we fail to find a solution and Azerbaijan does not stop the blockade of Nagorno-Karabakh, the humanitarian catastrophe of course will have its negative consequences for the negotiation process. Also, in general, I repeat again, the Armenian side is here in a constructive spirit. We will continue negotiations. Thank you.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu arrived in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The Russian Defense Minister heads a military delegation. The Defense Ministry reported that Shoigu's visit is in response to the 70th anniversary celebrations of the armistice that ended the 1950 to the 1953 Korean War. And now we move on to other topics. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that its troops advanced 2 kilometers in eastern Ukraine in the last 24 hours.
In the course of successful counterattack operations, the unit of the 15th Motorized Rifle Brigade under the skillful command of Lieutenant Colonel Bulov liberated the settlement of Sergivka. The total advance of our troops amounted to 4 kilometers along the front and up to 2 kilometers in depth of the battle formation of the enemy's defense.
And the International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi reported on directional anti-personnel mines in the perimeter of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. On July 23rd, the international agency experts inspected the site and saw mines located in a buffer zone between the plant's internal and external perimeter barriers. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, and there you will be able to re-watch our interviews, the top stories, the special broadcastings, and more. Just hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. And now we have a final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed on Tuesday to continue supporting the Palestinian cause and enhance the prosperity of the Palestinians. As part of the official visit of the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to Ankara, Erdogan and Abbas held one-to-one talks in the presidential complex to discuss bilateral relations, the Palestine-Israel issue, and other regional and international developments.
For a long time, the Palestinian issue has not received the attention it deserves on the agenda of the international community. It is important that the international community, especially the United Nations, strongly engages in the Palestinian issue. As Turkey, we will continue raising solidarity with the Palestinian people and giving support for the Palestinian cause in the strongest way. We will continue to support all efforts to increase the security and welfare of the Palestinian people. I would like to express that the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital within the 1967 borders on the basis of the United Nations parameters is a prerequisite for the peace and stability of our entire region.
And key sectors in Israel joined the protests against the judicial reform imposed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Health workers in Tel Aviv announced that they will stop providing services. The Organization of Internal Doctors called on the entire guild to stop working on Tuesday and to offer care only in case of emergency. And the Standing Committee of the Parliament of the Chinese National People's Assembly has announced the resignation of the Foreign Minister Qin Gan and appointed Wang Yi as his successor. Wang already served as China's foreign minister for nearly a decade, from March 2013 until December 30th, 2022. Then he was replaced by 57-year-old Qin, who remained in office for only 205 days, the shortest mandate in the history of the People's Republic. Now we move on to other topics. On Wednesday, in Italy, at least 5 people were found calcinated in Sicily due to the wildfires in the south of the nation. The Italian government declared a state of emergency in 5 regions which have been seriously affected and announced that around 2,000 people were evacuated in the province of Palermo. In Sicily, where the fires continue to spread, holding up all night, the local authorities also evacuated most of the mountainous areas surrounding Palermo. The fires in Italy are spreading after a week with temperatures reaching 46 Celsius degrees due to the heat wave caused by anticyclone called Sharon, which pushed very hot air from Africa. In France, according to the meteorological agency Météo France, 9 areas in the south have recorded maximum temperatures.
Y los detalles, una pausa y volvemos.
In Algeria, firefighters were battling a blaze that has already claimed the lives of 34 people in that North African country on Tuesday. The flames have destroyed homes and coastal resorts and turned vast forested areas into blackened wastelands.
The fire broke out due to increase in the wind speed, and then the flames intensified. We recorded a significant 3-hour delay before civil defense officers intervened at the scene.
Only the citizens and local volunteers residents were the ones who contributed to extinguish the fires. We didn't see any civil defense officers, firefighters or firefighting aircraft at all. It was a complete absence, whatever. The volunteers in the area intervened to put out the fires and succeed in stopping them on the other side as well. Praise be to God. We worked day and night to extinguish these fires.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter or X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.